I'm like you. I'm going to have to watch it again. Like it's just like Casey was saying, like where it's almost like that. This is America, where you know it's dope because it's dope songs, it's dope imagery, but just the understanding that there's a deeper like message behind it. You know what I'm saying? And not just see, sometimes what will happen, and it goes back to what you were talking about earlier when you were saying that in terms of talking about the emotions that people feel when they're watching music, right? And how music kind of taps into like not just your identity, but your well, yeah, probably identity is the right word. Like you're identifying with the artist because something about him or her is speaking to you in your space, right? And
Absolutely.
it will cause you to defend that artist to the death, and it's a beautiful thing because of what music is. But then I think on another end, sometimes it can be dangerous, right? Because
Mm,
there are times where we may love the art, and as a result we allow the art to make us give the artist a pass when the artist maybe doesn't deserve the pass, right?
mm.
Like, and look, us coming from Chicago, R. Kelly, right? And I know you know this, like you bring up R. Kelly's name and it's almost like people are like, I don't care how many young girls, or young women he had urinating in buckets, and all of the behaviors that we know are not acceptable, not only in
That's
our
right.
community, but in any community. But because he gave you Stepping in the Name of Love, and that was your wedding song, you are willing to overlook behavior that is completely abhorrent and just unacceptable, right? And so what I do and what I attempt to do is give people permission to still like the art. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna never stop watching Cosby Show because Heathcliff Huxtable is different from Bill Cosby, right? So my son, as he grows up, we're watching the Cosby Show. I'm not gonna be like, no, you can't watch that because he was giving a bunch of women quaaludes. No, that's Heathcliff Huxtable. Now, when you get old enough, we can have a larger conversation about who he was and kind of the whole nine, but the content and what that meant to you can be different from the actual person itself. And the only reason that I'm trying to give people that space is because I want us to be able to evolve where we can call a spade, right? Where we can acknowledge that, yeah, maybe Drake gave us a bunch of hits that we like and he ran a couple of summers and we liked it, but he's been a bit of a fuck boy the past like 3, 4, 5 years, right? Like, and I don't know if y'all been paying attention, but the stuff that he's been saying about all of his exes, where he just went on this whole tour where it was like, let me tear down black women. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, I'm gonna
I
tear
mean,
down
the album
Serena.
was called "For the Dogs" or something like that. I mean, like
What are we
he
doing?
wasn't talking about his homies.
He wasn't.
Yeah,
He wasn't, bro. And
the
like,
album cover has like different pregnant women all over it.
oh no,
First
no, no, no,
video,
no. That was
or
Certified
that
Lover Boy.
Certified Lover Boy. I'm sorry.
No, For My Dogs was the one where he had that like skeleton
Yeah,
dog looking
yeah, yeah,
creature.
yeah, yeah,
Bro,
yeah,
that
yeah.
was one of the most depressing albums I've ever heard. And that's why I'm like, how are y'all still rocking with this dude? He's making music for like 20-year-old white boys that don't get no ass. Like, it's lame. It's not, this ain't the same Drake that had all of the chicks and was dealing with the haters or whatever. Like, this is a dude going through a midlife crisis in his mid-30s, and we're still exalting him because he gave us a couple of classic albums. It's like,
Yeah.
you can still say that those is your joints, but then recognize that who he is today is he's fallen off. And this ain't hating, it's just accepting that I've grown, he has not, and so we are now much more separate than we used to be. And I get bothered by the fact that people can't do that. They do the same thing in politics. I get
Yeah.
it. You like this man's television show that he used to have. But if he is enacting legislation that is directly hurting you, I need you to be able to wake the hell up. Wake the hell up. I don't care how much you like The Apprentice. I don't care how funny you think he is. pay attention to how his actions are affecting you and the things that you want to do. You are not winning under his leadership. I don't care how much you want to lie to yourself. He is not a good person. And it's like, you can see that if you are able to separate how much you adore the content from the person itself. So that's why I'm like, yo, we need to start separating it. Love the art, but it's okay to not necessarily rock with the artist when they're not living up to, you know what I'm saying, the standard of you know, but see, we're getting into idol worship. You're idolizing these people and you're turning them into someone that's above reproach. You know what I'm saying? So anything Drake does now, you just got his back because loyalty. Really, dog? Like, I'm a loyal dude, but I don't give a shit if it's my best friend. If I find out you just raped somebody, I'm not gonna be like, well, that's what, you know, but that's the homie though. No, bro.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
absurd.
nah, bro. Like, nah, we have a problem now. Because I can't. That's character, dog. That's character. That's my morality. But see, we want to get into this blood everything. And it's like, dog, but all you're doing is condoning very bad behavior. And not only is it bad because of just what that says about you and your character and your morality, but it's also foolish because if they can do that to anyone, what makes you think they're not going to do it to you? Because how you are with one person is how you are with everyone, regardless of whether or not you want to acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? Like I tell you, people, there's a thread of commonality in how we operate. You don't walk fast, talk fast, eat fast, and drive slow. You see what I'm saying? If you're shitty in 8 areas of your life, you're not going to be great with me. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, we don't want to accept that sometimes when we are judging people that have done things that we once enjoyed. And that's the same way with Kanye, man. They get to this space where it don't matter what crazy thing this man says, everybody just gives this dude a pass. And it's like, come on, y'all. Like, I get it. He gave us Graduation, man. He gave us Late Registration. Like, go back and listen to them albums. But my man is posting and talking shit about black women. Like, how do we get behind that and still say that we are men of character? We are in a weird space right now, bro. Like,
we are. I think, you know, you've brought up a lot of phenomenal points, right? The first one is number one, the depravity of humanity is a real thing, right? We still, and especially as African American people, are suffering from what Dr. Joy DeGruy, spelled Gruy. So I'm probably pronouncing her last name wrong, but she calls it post-traumatic slavery syndrome. And what she's basically saying is that there's been an altering of our DNA that has literally led to why we are functioning beneath where we are in society. And we're making certain accommodations where we shouldn't be making accommodations. And the reality is this: if you look at what Q-Tip told us and Keep It Moving, fam literally said hip hop is a way of life. It doesn't tell you how to raise a child or treat a wife. So we were supposed to draw the line at some point and just say that this is just a way to be cool, to maybe spit some game every now and then to a lady that you like and to have a good time. But when it comes to those foundational things, our pioneers like Q-Tip knew that this would not tell you how to be a man or how to show up in society, right? And so I think it's our responsibility at this point in understanding what this was supposed to be about to kind of provide some context for the people that are coming behind us in this space to help redirect what this vehicle that does not ask your permission to get inside of your brain is doing. Like, music is the one thing that doesn't ask permission and affect both sides of your brain uniquely. You can have powerful lyrics that speak a dichotomy of life or death inside of your life while having melodic beats that have you sucked into it, whether you asked or not. And so I thoroughly believe at this point in history is that you need a Kendrick Lamar and you can and you need a Drake every now and then as well. But at certain moments in time, we cannot be lulled to sleep. And this is one of those ones where that's all I'm asking people to do, is that when you get a moment of sobriety and the trauma is not wanting to be medicated, last thing I'll say, and I'm going to pause, is that I believe every human being has 3 parts of themselves. You have a sufferer, a strayer, and a self-righteous person. The self-righteous person speaks in the language of should, saying, I should have known by better than this. You should know me better than now. The strayer says that I don't want to do anything right because it's suffering. It's in the sufferer feeling the ills of the world and just wanting to literally just go off and do something unrighteous. And our responsibility is literally in our brains to modulate the EQ on which one of those three voices is literally speaking the loudest. And so it's my sufferer dictating my actions, my strayer dictating our actions, or my self-righteous person dictating my actions. And I think a lot of time in hip hop culture is that we've used this so much to help us from our suffering inside of ourselves that we will literally just live there and let the music be like morphine and a hot toddy made in the backwoods of Southern Arkansas somewhere. Shout out to Arkansas. But you know what I'm saying? Like it will literally just medicate us to sleep where we're numb to what we really should be showing up to. And all I'm saying is that in this moment, people are going to literally have to go pull this book off the shelf and they're going to have to dive in. Everybody wasn't aware. And everyone wasn't alert. Everybody wasn't in tune. And then this will be my last closing. I'll say that I was having a text message with a pastor that mentored me when I was in Memphis, Dr. Spencer. And I said, this reminds me of the movie I Think I Love My Wife, where Chris Rock was with Kerry Washington's character on the train. And she was like, she tried to listen to what he was listening to. And she said, oh, you got some nigga ears. And he was like, what do you mean I got nigga ears? It's like you haven't branched out of just listening to this type of music where now your senses are dull. And then she put in another track and then like the world around him, he could see people vibing in a way that he had never seen them vibe before. And I think that like we've used music as a medicating to our trauma for so long that like if someone does something remotely different than just give us something to twerk and shake and sip to and vibe to, we are disturbed on a level that I don't think is healthy anymore. It was cool while it lasted, but it's just not healthy anymore.
Damn. I ain't gonna lie, George. I'm telling you, man. I knew I had you on here for a reason, bro. Yo, I was sitting here just like, yo, this is the kind of conversation that I wanted to have, like, as it relates to the gravity, right?
Yeah.
The sheer gravity of that performance. And it's such a unique space that we kind of find ourselves in because of the fact that I can understand that there are times where people just want to kick it. That people want, like you said, like music can be an escape at times. And it can be medication, right? It soothes us. And I'm one of those people. Like I am so into music. Like I was just sharing earlier how there was a point where that was actively what I was pursuing. I wouldn't be doing any of this right now if it wasn't for music. Like music was my entryway into production, like into using the software and all of that stuff because of a passion of creating songs and
I'm the same way with DJing.
Right.
I'm
you know
the
what I
same
mean?
way with DJing. Yeah.
So we both know like music it's so core to us that it's not just something that makes us feel good or influenced us. We've participated in the creative process of it. You know what I mean? Like I got a Spotify playlist right now that's got several thousand songs on it that I've been curating for over 13 years. You know what I'm saying? Wow. And if I ever just want to feel good, I literally call it Great Vibrations. And it's all over the place, but I know this is a vibe that I like. It may be all over the place, but I say that to say that music is so core to my being that I understand how it can influence. You know what I'm saying?
So just to put a pin there for a second, that's why I mentioned both Dr. Joy's study and then the BPMs in music. The relationship between the impact of BPMs on DNA and vibrating to the core of who we are, so that now we are literally able to control outcomes. Or we can literally, it can be like a thermostat. Music can be a thermostat.
Right.
you know, to literally say, all right, if I want to get myself up and ready for the day, I'm gonna put on this track because those BPMs are going to resonate with my DNA on a sonic level and cause this outcome. That's the relationship between all of that.
And what's crazy is like, even when I work out, right? Like there are certain tracks that, which by the way, I ain't been to the gym in at least like a month and a half. So I'm sloppy with it, but you know, being in there, you know, I lock in. And to your point, when I'm doing cardio, it's house music, right? Because I need that tempo, I need that energy, and it's got to be a certain kind of house music, right? But when I hit them weights, it is hip hop. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm selling drugs and I'm doing some things. You know what I'm saying? Like
cocaine's like, Dr. Seuss now.
Like, I got Meek Mill on, you know what I mean? Like I'm and listen, it's to the point where if I'm on like one of the last sets of like a particular machine, I can't even hit the weight until a certain part comes up that I know is go time for me. You see what I'm saying? Like it is so intertwined in my being that I'm very much aware of it. So that's why even what you were saying earlier, as it relates to like how some people, you know, as it relates to the battle and people kind of picking sides, you know, I think I do get it overall. I think I probably was discounting why certain people aligned with Drake. And I think it's just because we old school on the level, right? And what I mean by that, not to date us, but meaning that we came up in a time where we watched 50 Cent destroy Ja Rule because he was calling out the fact that what you are pushing out is not who you actually are. So we came from a place where authenticity was kind of a part of the core of hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Like you couldn't be what's that dude with the colorful hair, Tekashi 6ix9ine, where everybody knows you're a rat and you're fake, but you're just a troll and you scream over beats and you talk about all this killing you've done, but really that's not you. And people are like, oh, he's fake. All right, well, whatever. Like, and they just don't care. Like we came from a space where we cared. We cared because we attached the music to a real thing. And the moment that it was exposed that what you were representing wasn't really who you were, there was repudiation collectively. But now we're in a space where people can know you're fake. People can know you're fake and they don't care. And that is that like sometimes I get into interactions and shit when I foolishly give myself time from a political space. And you know, like I tell people, you can vote for who you want to vote for. But my thing is like take ownership of it. Like don't buy into the narrative, because if you try to turn this dude into Superman, and I say, you do know he had a fake university, right? Like just that alone should be disqualifying. You know what I'm saying? But you got people that's like, well, I don't care about that. The same way I was talking about like with the R. Kelly, the same way I was talking about with like, you know, Kanye. It's like people don't care when they see these things that are showing you're not really the tough guy that you say you are. You're not really the this that you say you are. Okay, then why are you all still hoisting them on a pedestal? It's like people are willingly misleading themselves. You know what I'm saying? And I think a part of that is just the overall space that we're in as it relates to society because of social media, right? Like a lot of people are faking it. A lot of people are lying. A lot of people are projecting images of themselves. You know, I think about in this is something that is still a bit of a sensitive topic because it's just like it caught everybody off guard. But that brother Twitch that ended up killing himself, right?
Even Boss Twitch.
Right. And you know, as happy as he was on the
Twitch
Ellen
Boss.
show.
I'm sorry. Stephen Twitch Boss is his name.
Right. And he they were showing videos and TikToks that he had just made like 24, 48 hours before he took his life, right? Yeah. And when you see that, you say to yourself, wow, like we are this invested in, you know, the mirage that even on a personal level, like we do it all the way up until the train goes off the side of the cliff. At what point, and then you say to yourself, like, okay, and I still feel like we haven't talked about that as much as we should as a community. Like, yo, what happened with that? You know what I mean? Like, and not just what happened with that so that we can talk stuff about it, but what happened with that so that we can make certain that we're safeguarding ourselves and those that we love to be able to say, did it just catch him off guard? Like, was he really genuinely happy and then something happened and he just didn't have coping skills? Or was he really in this world where he had been faking it for so long that he just got to a point where it was insurmountable and he just could not be fake anymore, right? Like,
I don't think we get the space,
to the point
man.
where he even surprised his wife, bro. And that to me is like, that's frightening that your own wife did not know that you were going through a deep thing that had you to the space of taking your own life. There wasn't no conversations that you had.
No, because we don't get this. I've been married for, it'll be 19 years in April, right?
Okay, congratulations on that,
thank
brother.
you, fam. Appreciate it. And like, when you are in a position where you are expected to show up and be something for a subset of people that have they need something from you, they pull emotional, mental, spiritual energy from you and don't even ask. Like, they're just in your presence pulling safety. Like, when this guy's in the room, I feel safe.
Right.
They're emotionally pulling safety from you. And so you don't always feel like you have the bandwidth to pour there and pour into yourself to be enough of what Jason Wilson calls a comprehensive man. Like, you don't have enough comprehensive man in you to emotionally check in and say, I'm not well. I feel less than. When I turned 45 in December of last year, I literally told my wife, I finally feel like I am worthy. I have existed for 45 years on this planet. I've got multiple degrees. I've got accomplishments all out the yin yang. And I just now am getting to internal worthy. Like, but see, like, just to be able to feel safe enough to say that to her.
Right.
Took a lot of all the things that you just mentioned that we grew up under of, of stop. That's, and please, I hope I don't offend anybody in the LGBTQIA plus community when I say this, but we grew up in the 90s where bad was gay. It was like, so if you were emoting emotions, it was said stop being gay, which was like stop being human. That, like, we literally had put those two words together looking back with 2020 hindsight. And how traumatizing is that to not allow a person to do that? And the thing, Isaac, we've been told this since we were little boys when they told us don't cry. So like now I got to show up and I got to watch them. You expect me to have the bandwidth to pick up on what Kendrick Lamar is telling me when I've been told since I was a little boy to shut down emotion from the rip. I've been told from my impetus on this planet that I should not show up with authenticity. I should. And so like, I think that there's a measure of depravity of humanity. There's a measure of grace that we all need because we all are trying to figure this out. But most importantly, if you've been given an opportunity to be in the Hollywood mirage, you get to choose whether or not you do the shadow work. Okay. And it's very clear that Kung Fu Kitty does his shadow work.
Right.
The brother does his shadow.
I like how you pulled it back.
The brother does his shadow work, man. Anytime you can one moment be saying, I deserve it all, then the next moment you asking, I wonder what Lecrae would do. Would he pray or would he give the dudes the fist? And then the next minute, what tells you deserve the greatest of all time, mother? And it, like, to be that comprehensive of a human, to be on all that, Now, I'm not taking anything away from. I just flip the switch, flip.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking anything away from that because that in the right context that has its place.
Yeah.
But it just depends on where you are as a human and what's going to speak to you in that moment.
And you know what? And so that's interesting, right? Okay, so just because I'm curious, you said that when you turn 45 in December what?
3rd.
Okay, so I'm talking to a Sag. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. You know what I mean? So I'm into astrology, so I also know. So Kendrick is a Gemini, right?
Yeah.
And Geminis represent duality.
Mm-hmm.
And Geminis are the one sign until probably the past couple of years where I really was able to step outside of myself and accept them. I've always understood them a little bit, but I evolved to accept them because Geminis was one of the one signs that I just did not vibe with, and it wasn't that I didn't vibe with them; it was that I thought they were phony, right?
Mm.
And it's because, like most people, as we're going through life and experiences are happening, we are pulling in this information so that it can kind of bake in and it turns us into the person that we are. We become a holistic person. Geminis exist in a world of duality. So even when you see like the sign, it's like the happy face, sad face. They are the sign of extremes. So they are hot or cold, right? They are happy or sad. They're seldom neutral. And so when you're operating with them, and if you ever talk to a Gemini, you can ask them this, and they will be like, yeah, that they don't even deny it. You know what I'm saying? Like they have the ability to flip and switch on a dime, but their balance happens more like most people's balance is kind of like a scale. Theirs is kind of like a pendulum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it vacillates from one end to the next. And the middle ground is what they typically don't have. So you either love them or you hate them. And when you think about them, and I think that's why the majority of the artists that we see that are the most prolific are Geminis. It's because in order to get people to feel an emotion, sometimes you can't be in the middle because that's neutral, and neutral is never sexy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's love or hate. Love or hate drives traction more, right? So that's Donald Trump. He's a Gemini, right? That's Andre 3000. He's a Gemini. That's Biggie. That's Tupac, right? Like, that's Kanye. You know what I mean? That's Lauryn Hill. Like, that's Andre 3000. Like, when we talk about some of the greatest MCs or artists of all time, they are people that have had that ability to take you to an extreme of emotion. You know what I'm saying? And, while I could always appreciate their art, for me, it would sometimes feel like they're being fake, right? Because if you're this way today and then tomorrow you another way, to me, that means you fake, right? Like, what's the real you? You know what I'm saying? Like, you said this today and then tomorrow you act, like now you on some funny shit. And that to me made me always a little distrusting of them because I couldn't understand the duality of their character. And so, I didn't know about medical terms. I wasn't going to call them bipolar. I just called them fake, right? Like, oh, you hot, now you cold, But as I started to evolve, I started to understand like, nah, that really is a part of what their sign is. And it sometimes it can be difficult for people to become something that they are not innately, right? And so I've had to just kind of like grow into that and just like accept that is how Geminis operate, and so as it relates to Kendrick, I'm not surprised that when it comes to his halftime performance, people are normally picking a side. You either loved it or you hated it, right? Even if you didn't understand it, there was a willingness to recognize, oh, something deep was happening, and I'm gonna do some research later. Or, oh my God, it was boring. It was the worst Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like, this wasn't
and there's
something.
stark differences. There's no there's very little gray.
very little gray. You either
Yeah,
loved
yeah,
it or you hated it, right? Like
yeah.
and that's why I'm honestly not surprised that he's gotten the all-time most viewed, because he pulled you to an extreme, right? So even if you talking shit about it, you talking about it, right? Like regardless of how you feel, he got you to feel something, and I think that what I appreciate personally just about not only him, but just what that Super Bowl performance, and I said it in my post, was that regardless of how you felt about it, I know, knowing that he's a thinker, I know that he was very intentional with his performance. I know he knew what the people wanted, right? I know he knew that this is going to catch some backlash. And I think he said, I don't give a shit. And I love everything about that, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm seeing posts, and I'm gonna play a video in a moment. I want to get your feedback on it, but I'm in a space now where if there's any value I can pull out of this current space that we're in with this current administration that just seems like it's very anti us and everybody's got this energy now where they like, I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Is it's making me say to myself, okay, you know what? It's time for me to stop caring so much. It's time for me to stop being so concerned about the white gaze, right? Because we've even talked about this a lot, like just when we came up, we always knew, oh, you can't act like that around white folks. Anytime that you was going to be somewhere where there were a lot of white people, or it was an environment where, you're trying to impress their crowd, we kind of fit into these boxes. And my question is do they ever do that for us? The only white person in history that's probably ever done that for us, and this is an exaggeration, but probably Eminem. He's probably been the only person that in the early stages cared about what black people were thinking
Wow.
about the thing that he was creating. Because most white people, they have that liberty. They have that privilege to just create and to not care about what we're going to think about it. You know what I'm saying?
I'll
Because,
say Stan Lee.
oh, you said Stan Lee?
Yeah. Eminem and Stan Lee are the only two that I can think of, honestly. Yeah.
that acknowledged, okay, how they feel about this thing is important, because in most cases people just doing them, and because they are the majority and they got the numbers, they they have that ability to only be able to get a sliver of their population and still be very successful. Meanwhile, on this side, you got to damn near be unanimous. Everybody got to love you if you're only appealing to black people, because we just
Wow.
don't have the numbers. You see what I'm saying? And I think that is even a part of like this new trend that we're seeing, where you got the Snoop Dogs and the Nellies and all of them are like, where they like trying to pony up to that side. It's because they know, if I just get 5% of their population, I'm eating way harder than if I got 100% of our population. And I think the awareness of the numbers that play into that is what makes Kanye be Kanye. Oh, well, I can do this thing right here. I don't have to perform for black people no more, because all I need is 10% of white people, and that's going to keep me eating way harder than 100% of black people, right? And so it's almost like I no longer feel an allegiance to my culture. I no longer feel an allegiance to my community. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's all about the money, they got the numbers, right? They got the numbers and they got the wealth. So if I gotta play the game, I'm gonna play the game for them. And that's what we've been seeing. And so one of the questions that I was going to ask you, like when we're talking about, Kendrick Lamar and just kind of the whole nine, and just how dope this performance was, we talk about activism and just what the role is of not only, we'll take it feel free to approach this from either direction, because he's an artist, but he's also a celebrity, right? What do you think, or do you think there is any role of celebrity as it relates to our community? Like do you think that they owe us anything, or is that unfair? Is it unfair for us to have expectations of our celebrities, of our athletes, of our artists, to be not only active but to be connected to the community? Is that unfair?
So what I hear you asking is like, should we hold them to a higher level of accountability or any accountability
Right.
because they've been given a platform that we don't have,
Right.
and they silently represent us out there. You know,
Right.
it's almost like, when your parents send you out the house and they're like, don't embarrass my last name.
Right.
So like we expect everybody that's a celebrity to walk out with a jersey that says black people
Right.
and then go out and be the greatest celebrity you can be. It's kind of heavy, isn't it? Like
Mhm.
I think it's an unfair expectation. I say that jokingly, but let's just think about what I just said. We expect a celebrity to walk out and be a human with a jersey that says black people, African
Mhm.
American, and then go out and be something other than human, more like a thing.
Mm.
I think we're not giving them enough humanity when we put that much pressure on them. Now, I won't say they are devoid of responsibility,
Okay.
because there is a responsibility and awareness that comes with knowing that you have a platform, and knowing that people are looking out to you. Like I get to serve as a director of philanthropy for the ACLU of Tennessee here, right?
Mhm.
A lot of decisions that I make have nothing to do with me as director. It's more to do with those associates and people who may be considered on other tiers from me that I have to make decisions on, independent on how I feel. I don't expect someone who is an artist to have the bandwidth
Mm.
to be that tapped in
Okay.
early in their career. Now, when you get to Nelly and Snoop's level, I do.
Mm.
Because you've been in this thing now for 20, 30 years.
Okay. Okay.
And you understand, you can literally say, like Ice Spice, I wouldn't expect her to show up. You know what I'm saying? But like,
Not Ice Spice.
you caught a stray, yo. My
No,
bad, yo. Shout out to Ice
you
Spice.
should have said Sexy Red, not
We
Ice
expect
Spice.
Ice Spice, man. My
Is
bad,
she
man.
even black
She's
though?
with
Is
the
she even black?
Swifties now too, so that was dangerous.
Right. That's funny. That's funny.
Well, no, I'm just saying youth, not
Right. Right.
talent, just youth. 20, 30, we don't really expect you to be that aware. But when you get to 40 and 50 and you're at
Right. Right.
halftime in life,
Mm.
and now we're looking at you to be a griot and teach us something
Mm-hmm.
and point us in a direction. Say bold things like Hove did that, so hopefully you don't have to go through that. Like that's
Right.
what we expect from you. And
Mm-hmm.
so now I don't think that they're doing that right now. I think that
Okay.
because even locker rooms, Isaac, are not even teams anymore. If
Mm.
they're saying that inside of most collegiate and NBA locker rooms, whereas in the back in the 90s, guys would be playing cards, smoking
Okay.
cigars, playing dominoes. Now
Mm-hmm.
everybody's got the Mega Beats Max on, the Apple Maxes on their phones.
Mm.
And so like celebrity does not have a sense of community. And
Mm.
if the place where you reside does not have a sense of community, and you're
Mm.
isolated in this area, then you will at some point lose value in what real community means.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a little bit of expectation for someone who is a celebrity. I'm grateful when they do.
Okay.
Because I'm grateful when they do, but I don't think it's their job.
So to add to that, then, like if a celebrity chooses to stay silent on social issues, should that be respected, or do you find that as a signal of complicity? Because I'm gonna be honest now, as you're thinking about this, and
Yeah.
this is just me being honest, and
Okay.
this ain't fair. I'm gonna tell you this right now as I say this, okay? This is not me being fair, but when I see certain things happening, and I know that it's not just my news feed that this is happening in, but I see some of the people who, you know, sometimes even propers like they position themselves as thought leaders, as
Mhm.
motivators, as people that want to encourage you. And so I'm gonna
Yeah.
call out some names. As much as I love these two gentlemen, like a Kevin Hart or a Will Smith, right?
Mhm.
They will give you TED Talks all day long and have all kinds of deep stuff and everything. But when it comes to anything political, then all of a sudden they are hands off. Then all of a sudden they are trying to walk this fine line down the middle because they don't want to get political. And my thing is this, right? I understand the impetus to want to do that, but at the same time I also know that you are protecting the bag. Now who am I? I'm not here to say like, yo, you should ruin your money and the whole nine, but I'm also like, if you have a much bigger bullhorn than anyone else, right? Like Instagram, between Will Smith, The Rock, and Kevin Hart, just those three people could touch everybody in America if they ever got upset with something enough to be vocal about it, right? But those are the people that, when we're talking about white America, when we're talking about, really influencing minds and things of that nature, those, like, white America is not following, Angela Rye. They're not following, Joy, names just on mine, NBC,
Joy Reid.
MSNBC.
Joy Reid.
Yes. Yes. Right. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? They're not following that. They're not following Ta-Nehisi Coates. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're following our comedians, our entertainers, our biggest music artists, right? And so I feel like when those Black people are silent on very important issues that affect the community, it on some level gives a pass to white people to feel like, well, no, everything is fine, right? Because if Will Smith is still making Matrix videos and he seems to be having a good time, and Kevin Hart is promoting his tour or whatever, right? Like, these are the people that they identify with in the Black community. And if they're not saying anything, then it must not be an issue, right? Because they're not following the me's, they're not following the you's, right? So when we speak up, it seems like we're fear mongering, or it seems like we're, complaining or whatever.
We should get over it. We should get over it.
We should get over it because it appears that they've gotten over it. But the reality of it is, and I don't know this because I don't know them, but I'm pretty certain that if I had closed door conversations with them, I'd probably understand that they are a little disgusted with some of this stuff as well, right? But when you're not speaking on it, then those individuals whose minds we are attempting to influence, they're thinking that shit is sweet, right? Like, oh, well, no, see, yeah, those are just those woke people or whatever. But what happens when your heroes start to say something? What happens when, and I think that's one of the reasons why I love LeBron so much, right? Because he does put his neck on the line at times to speak on things, but everybody else is trying to walk this comfortable line and not share anything. And it's like, I get it, especially if your activism is being used in other ways. And so I also want to acknowledge that everybody's not the vocal person. Sometimes people are, their role in the movement is they're the financiers. So it's like, we need them to be gaining the wealth so that they can use their money strategically. Everybody's not supposed to be an activist. Everybody's not supposed to be on the front lines. I do understand that. But I do also feel at times that there are opportunities that they are willingly not saying anything about while acknowledging how jacked up it is. And because y'all got the bullhorn, it don't matter if all of us scream. Y'all the ones with 200 million followers. You all are the one, but you don't want to mess that up. You don't want to have a tour and now all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, people ain't showing up. But I feel like people like Trevor Noah somehow can figure it out. He's still rocking stadiums. He's still making money, but he can still utilize his authentic voice. I'm like, why is it that a South African can do it, but all of these people that I know grew up in the slums ain't saying shit? You know what I'm saying? So like, are they complicit on a level, or am I just thinking about this
a little bit? Yeah, they are.
It's unfair.
They are a little bit, man. But you mentioned Trevor Noah. You mentioned LeBron. These are people that are tied to minimal brands that affect their bottom line.
Okay.
And their brands that they are tied to, I want to say they have a certain level of ownership stock in those brands to where they can make some tough decisions and calls. And so maybe from a practicality standpoint, I'm not giving them a pass at all, but I'm just saying they're just not like us. Pun intended, right? Like they're just not like
Right.
us. You know, now when you talk about people that can make those decisions and choose not to, I point more to where are Hakeem Jeffries, AOC,
Okay.
my man that stayed in the hood with, and I can't think of his name right now, but you know what I'm talking about, light skinned guy with kind of hazel eyes, politician, Cory Booker, right?
Yes.
You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
like that's where I look for a little bit of that push of
Okay.
you've got you look, the majority of our millionaires and billionaires are in sports and entertainment. And we think that their money attainment should then give them a bigger megaphone. I want the policy people to get loud. Like my girl out of Texas that did
Crockett.
Jasmine
Crockett.
Yes.
I
That's the
love her.
energy.
I
That's the
love her.
energy.
I
That's what
love
I'm
her.
talking about. Like, if you're gonna
Jasmine is right now, whether or not the Democratic Party realizes it, she is the standard bearer of our energy, and I hope they are investing in her because that woman is the future. That woman is the future.
She is the future of their party right now.
Yes,
you know, and so like when you talk about where do we put our expectation, I think we want to put our expectation for activism behind the people that have the dollars. I would not put our activism behind the people that have the dollars. I would put our that power near the people that have the policy and legislative decision power.
Okay.
Because that's what's going to lead for bigger change for us than just somebody who's got a couple brands of tequila and makes a couple million at a box office. You know, like I'm not, look, man, I'm only impressed by so much now. And my theme for 45 is I understand it now.
Right.
Like I took it from Lethal Shooter. I understand it now. I'm not going to be impressed by the trappings of financial success.
Okay.
You tell me exactly what's going to lead to my people putting stuff on the book. Like I saw and admired the LGBTQI plus community for doing. People get on Dave Chappelle all the time and say he's punching down. He made it very clear. I'm not punching down on you. I'm admiring you because you guys were able to accomplish what my community has not been able to accomplish for over 60 plus years. Yes. And I'm like, how did they do it? And so the only way he can deal with the pain of him trying to, and frustration, is to crack a couple jokes. But the reality is we admire the policy move.
Oh, but just because I have thoughts on that, and I'll just say this before I play this quick clip. That's because that's white men. Let's be honest. White men like to take on various forms, but it's still white privilege at the end of the day because LGBTQIA is not breaking down barriers because of Black gay people.
Not at all.
White men that are gay, white men that want to transition into being a woman, it don't matter. It don't matter what form you take. If it's a white man,
I see where you're going with that.
If you originated as a white man, you have that entitlement coded in your DNA, and anything that you want to be, you can be. So it's not, we can't even put that on that whole LGBTQIA because, you know, when you look at how Black people are treated in that space, way different than how white people are treated in that space, right? There's a different level of consequences that's met when someone does something to a white person that's a part of that community versus a Black person. You know what I mean? So like that's really what it is. And sometimes we don't want to say that because I know that once you throw the LGBTQIA, they want to group it all in, and they want to, you know, make that a part of us and our suffrage movement, you know, even when it comes to this DEI stuff, right? Like, as much as I'm still in support of it, let's not pretend like it's a whole bunch of Black people that's been winning from it, right? We've already seen the numbers.
It's a lot of Caucasian women whose husband are construction workers and they got the contract in their name and their
Yeah.
husband really does
Yeah.
the work. And since they're 52% owner of the company and their husband is listed as 37%, you know, and then the dog get the other 7, like
Yep. Yep. That wasn't us. And we
if you
know that
know, you
wasn't us.
know.
And we
Pushing
know,
P.
and the only reason that we pushing back is because I don't like y'all throwing that out there and trying to make it seem like as a result of DEI and hiring all these black people, that's why planes is falling out of the sky. Nigga, it ain't been one pilot that's been black that's had anything to do with any of these planes that's falling out of the sky. Call it what it is. It's y'all. It's y'all. Stop. You know, but they good. They good at the smoke screen, though. You know what I mean? And that's why I just be
We
like,
can
all
never
right,
run
man.
for president after this podcast. That's it, man. Like
You said what?
our presidential run, it just ended like about 20 seconds ago.
No. I'm gonna be Jasmine Crockett's VP.
There you go. All right, Ben. I'm waiting for her cabinet then.
I'm gonna be her VP / anger translator. I'm gonna be like them on Key and
Sit there
Peele.
like this
I'm
the whole
to
time.
the side, and every time she say something, because you know she already lit, but I need to be the one to let them know. And I beat your ass. Like, yo,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
telling you. And that's funny that you brought her up, because when I see her energy, I know she gets it. And to your
Right.
point, when we're talking about the Hakeem Jeffries and like everybody's still being so docile right now. And I'm like, y'all, if y'all are not paying attention to anything else, if we can take anything positive from the Trump years, granted, you aren't a Trump supporter. If you're not a Trump supporter and you want to take something positive from these years, it is that we no longer need to question whether or not we are worthy, capable, qualified. All of that bullshit that we grew up with, thinking that, oh, you got to be this type of way, or oh, you can't do that, oh, you can't cuss, oh, you can't do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been telling ourselves this for decades, for centuries. And now we watched the guy let it all hang out. He was the worst candidate that anybody should have wanted to say, yeah, give me the guy that openly said he was grabbing pussies, right? Like the moment that they did that, I was like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. So that was just lip service. Y'all really don't care. Now, they may still want to use that as an excuse. Oh, well, he's not doing anything appropriate. All right, say that, but I won't internalize it. I'll know you just didn't hire me because you just didn't want me there. Like, there was nothing I could have done. Like, that's why even people be like, well, Kamala should have done this. Well, why didn't they do that? Y'all, if everything this man did, he still got in, let me tell you something. If it was Jesus with Barack Obama as his VP, he would not have beaten Trump this go round, because if that man was able to do everything that he did and gotten in, nobody was beating him. That is an indication of the nation that we live in, and the priorities that the American public saw as being most important. So we could talk strategy all day. Well, they should have done this and they should have done that. That woman hopped through every hoop that she could. She tried to appease everybody that said that they needed a plan. She did everything she was supposed to do. And they still went with the dude that was talking about a dead man's penis at a campaign rally. Y'all, okay, just say you wanted to vote for the rich white guy because he's rich and he's white. All right, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. But nonetheless, you know what I'm saying?
Let me highlight one more sister, man, so we can move on. I want to shout out Elizabeth Booker Houston as well. Elizabeth Booker Houston, she's lives in DC, but she's from Memphis. That's another sister that, like Jasmine Crockett, has phenomenal energy for this moment, and she definitely needs all our backing. Okay. All right, let's move on, man.
You know what? I received that, and thank you for that. You know what I'm saying? Because you've already dropped a couple of jewels that I'm gonna have to watch this back through. And no, seriously, because you were talking about some documentaries and a few books and a few teachings. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I was like, yeah, all right, I need to push a pin in that and go back and get that. But I want you to see this because I think you'll appreciate this right here. Right. So it's 3 things that I'm gonna show you in a row, right? And they're playful. Let's start with this one, okay?
All right, y'all, I'm sorry. Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl was whack. That was one of the worst halftime shows in recent memory. First of all, Kendrick Lamar is not mainstream. Like, people do not know those songs. The white people at the Super Bowl party that I was with, he may as well have been speaking Mandarin.
I love
always
Kev,
count on Kevin Fredericks, man.
I love Kev, man. Because when I first saw the clip, I was like, who is this
Whose
Negro
mans
on
is
my
this?
newsfeed? And then when I saw Kev, I was like, all right, thank you, bro. Because ever since Zuckerberg been on his little kick, yo, man, I've been seeing some stuff in my news feed. I'm like, why am I seeing all these Fox News ads all of a sudden and White House ads? And I'm like, oh, okay, so what? I'm like automatically following these dudes now. You know what I'm saying? Like, do y'all want me to troll? Because I will troll. I will hop in these threads and troll these dudes. But when I saw that, I was like, okay, good. I was like, whoo. But beat this though, right here. I think you'll appreciate this.
Bro, just listen to the lyrics in this unreleased song that Kendrick did at the halftime show last night. Just listen to the lyrics. I'm carrying heavier hearts right now. I could power lift with Olympians too. I'm carrying varying darts right now. I desert this bitch like tiramisu. We go body for body. I hand you a body. I'm probably a better masseuse. Really don't bother nobody, but they run it by me if I gotta clear out the room. You would not get the picture if I had to sit you for hours in front of the Louvre. Would not have a soul even if I had told you to stand next to Johnny and Q. Thought he was nothing but government cheese, but now I could seize the government too. Remember the food stamp color was tan and brown, but now the 100 is blue. Remember I said I'm the greatest back when you debated the number 1 and number 2. Topic was always hilarious to me. You carry him to me. I brought out the broom. You think that's mid? I don't ever want to talk. I don't ever want to talk music to me. Don't hit me about no music conversations. I don't want to talk to you no more.
That is what I'm talking about, man. That's the type of energy I'm on, bro. Like, yo, go back through and watch it as many times as you need to. Come on, bro. And that's when he was standing on top of the GNX. I didn't even catch it all. I just knew, like, oh, this nigga is going in right now. You know what I mean? The MC and me were just sitting there like, like, are y'all not fans of the art? Are y'all not fans of hip hop?
They're not.
Yo,
they rather have.
What was the movie 8th Mile when Eminem was getting in on people and shit? This is the evolution. I mean, the evolution of that. This is the dude that's like, and it's okay if he's smarter than you. See, I think that's also a thing. People are bothered by intelligence, bro. Like,
I need to
it's
stand
okay
up and
if
stretch
people are
now.
smarter than you. We don't have to be, I love being around people that's smarter than me. And I just hope that they think something I say is smart and not like on some old worship you, but just like, what do they say? You are the sum total of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. You know what I'm saying? So like, why would you want the leader or the head or your friends to be stupid? Like, we get so intimidated by it instead of leaning into it with the acknowledgement that it's going to whisk over us a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to get better. If I'm hanging around stronger people, faster athletes, I'm going to train a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are y'all intimidated by this shit? And so it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, you know what I'm saying, in terms of like why you key into certain artists. And I feel like that's part of those of us that love Kendrick. It's not that we just super deep. It's because we, like you pointed out earlier, we want to learn. We want to be stimulated intellectually. Like, why are you all so comfortable with being continuously lulled into sleep? Like, rock with somebody that's forcing you to go to a higher platform. Even if you don't get it now, you will get it. Have confidence in yourself that you can get it. But if you immediately hear it and you're stiff arming it and you're having disdain for it, this dude is penning this shit. We ain't even heard this song. That was new.
Man, just think about it, dude. Like CeeLo told us, man, you don't want to hear the truth. So I'm gonna lie to you, make it sound fly to you. Like, you know, like we literally have been like literally living these lyrics that we grew up on, and they were so timeless that we're quoting them here in the middle of a random podcast moment. You know what I'm saying? Like it's because of the trauma, and the reason that term and that word rang big time for me as I was thinking through like what we could talk about and what was my real thoughts about it and why there was such a divide. I think number one is your point of him and his nature of being the Gemini MC, having that gift to pull from both sides and create either black or white, smiles or laughs, or smiles or frowns rather. But then there's also, you know, the people who only showed up for the smiles. Like we want that, Kendrick. We want, you know, I'm pretty sure everybody started jumping when DNA came on. You know, when Humble was on, they were rocking with them.
Right.
When Man at the Garden came on and he's snapping with the dudes with the grills, it's like, oh man, this ain't it, you know. And so like I don't think they were ready mentally for, and I don't think any of us were ready for it.
Right.
But I think that, you know, we all exist in a mentality of awareness, and all of us choose to either have been at one point in our life living under our trauma blanket, and some of us visit from time to time.
Okay. So look, I'm sorry, brother.
No, go ahead.
Because I wanted to get this last video in because I wanted your take on this. Okay, just because I'm curious. Okay, this is the last video. I just wanted to hear what you had to say about this right here. Okay, so you give me this.
The bottom line is this set list, these are not hit records. When you're talking about the biggest stage in entertainment, you need hit records, undeniable hit records, not the songs that we like, because there's some songs on there that we like as a culture. When you put somebody on the Super Bowl halftime stage, you need the songs that people that never even heard of Kendrick remember, like, oh yeah, that's who that is.
Well, I don't want to do that because there were a couple hits in there. So I would say Humble is a hit. DNA is a hit. All the Stars is a hit. Not Like Us is a hit, and TV Off is turning into a hit.
Yeah. Now you telling me it was turning into a hit.
It would be half and half.
Don't tell me it was turning into a hit.
It just came out.
So why perform it?
Because he just did a fucking GNX whole performance. Slipped in DNA, Euphoria, and Humble. So, even though I even put Euphoria within the GNX rollout.
So back to what I'm saying. This Super Bowl performance was predicated and built upon a moment.
All right, so I just want to get your feedback on that, because when I heard that take, I was like, okay, here we go.
That was Buddy Mile, wasn't it? When Buddy Mile, because he wear glasses, he got some real insight, man. You know, like I think that's his only fallback, man. He think when he got the glasses on, and it's like sitting like old school T.I.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? Like, now he's in his bag.
Casey said Maul has historically trash takes.
Trash, man.
Oh, okay, Casey. Is that like his thing? He just makes trash takes, man.
He shows up.
That's what makes him special. You know, you're gonna get something trash. And when I heard that, I was like, and see, that's why I love things like this, right? Because, you know, and we talked about this earlier, but just to make it clear so that people can see it, you know what I'm saying, that Kendrick Lamar's performance was the most watched Super Bowl halftime show in history with 133.5 million views, right? Like, man. We talked about that, right? 0.5, okay? And so it's hilarious when I see things like this, right? You know, hundreds of dancers and participants in this halftime show, and they can't manage to feature one single white person. This is pathetic. And somebody was like, nah, we got rid of DEI based on merit. The black dancers dance better. Yo, we trolling. And that's why, and you know what? And I think that's what I'm getting at. I get a little disappointed because I'm like, y'all are so busy trying to hoist up your King Drake that y'all are missing out on some good trolling for all the white people that are bothered by
There's
how
some high quality trolling going on.
What? Because this was black as hell. This was a win for the culture. And if you don't see that, then it is because on some level, and I think that's very much what you've been saying, which, you know, I definitely appreciate your insight. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, and that's why it's important to have conversation and to communicate with other intelligent, like, people that I consider to be thought leaders, right? Because you have introduced some alternative frames of thought, right, that I completely agree with, that I just had not considered, you know what I'm saying, as it relates to the dichotomy between Drake and Kendrick, because we know that that's where it began, but there was a point where this clearly became bigger than that, you know what I'm saying? And it felt like everybody missed that train, you know what I'm saying? Like, from the moment that it was announced that he was going to be the Super Bowl, and I get it, maybe it was twisting the knife if you were a Drake fan, and, you know, he's the Super Bowl, because from that point it was like, okay, well, now I just want to see a black person do a great job. Real talk, if Drake were decided to do it at some point for, I'm not going to want to see him fail, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is hip hop music at the end of the day, right? Like, this is even if he isn't the standard bearer of the culture, I still know that what you're performing, unless he went and decided to do some country shit, like, you would be on some level representing black culture and black music. I want you to do a good job. You know what I'm saying? Sure. I don't want to see something up there that ruins this opportunity for a future artist, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. I want to see you maximize it. And to just watch a bunch of us, like, get into this space where we hitting this tribal thing, I'm like, yo, the infighting is unfortunate, because this was so much bigger than Drake. Now I get it. it was the cherry on top of a beef that is literally the greatest beef of all time, right? Like,
hands down.
And I know it's tough. If you was on that side of the fence, you know, that you hating it. But I'm like, damn, like, but to your point, and you said this earlier, and I agree with it. I felt this. There are a lot of people who are going to go back. It might not be a week, it might not be a month, it might not be a year. It may be some time later where we are talking about this for a long time and recognizing just how artistic it really was. And, you know, just even what the beef, I think, symbolized, because a lot of people don't understand what the beef symbolized. And, like, you know, this hoodie that I got on, this hat that I got on, I actually coined this term when a buddy of mine, actually one of my cousins, who surprises me, he out of the blue, I guess, is a Drake stan. Like, nigga, we've all loved the music, but yeah, you're going way too hard to be as popular as you are and to do the things you're doing. He kept wanting to post, you know, and so he posted this meme one time. It was the weirdest little meme, but it had Drake sitting alone in, like, an auditorium, you know, just very emo type shit, you know. But it was talking about how, like, he was still the most streamed artist of 2024 and blase, blah. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like, we keep getting into this space where we, like, even when we talk about the arguments between the two, and when we're talking about art, I don't want y'all to keep using sales as the number one metric that determines who's the greatest, because Fast and Furious as a franchise has made more than everything else, damn near. You know what I'm saying? Are you really trying to tell me that Fast 10 is one of the greatest movies of all time, right? Like, just because something makes a lot of money does not. McDonald's is probably the largest restaurant chain that exists. Are they really better than Ruth Chris? Are they really better than Five Guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there comes a point where you have to acknowledge that the dollar signs, the engagement, you know, because this is the world we live in, where if you post something and it doesn't, I remember a friend of mine, actually a friend of ours, if I said her name, you know what I'm talking about, but a friend of ours, I remember I gave her props once where I was like, girl, I love the fact that, you know, sometimes you'll post stuff and it don't matter if you don't get no engagement, you still keep on posting. And she shared with me then, she was like, well, I'm gonna be honest with you, Ike, there have been a couple of times I did delete it. You know what I'm saying? And it was because she felt some kind of way that she posted something and she didn't get a lot of engagement, right? Because in her mind, the lack of engagement felt like rejection, right? Like the algorithm in social media is forcing us to believe that if a lot of people don't key into something instantly, that what you just created is whack. What you just created has no value, right? And what's crazy is while on some level people can make excuses and be like, well, that's it is. If people wasn't rocking with it, then clearly it wasn't valuable. And I'd be like, okay, but yet I've known several content creators that had upwards of 5 million followers that were still sleeping on in their mother's basements. They weren't making any money. That's Meanwhile, right. You got somebody over here with 10,000 followers that's monetizing what it is that they're doing. They're actually selling a product and they're fucking millionaires. So who's really winning? The comedian that has 5 million followers that can't figure out how to actually make money off of it. He's just a popular puppet. Or this person over here with 1,000 followers, but half of his followers are active customers. We have to reevaluate what winning looks like because social media has sold us a lie and convinced us that the more people that click on your thing and that like your thing, that means you're successful. And of course, they're going to tell us that because that benefits their profit margin. They want you to, oh, I got to create. Oh, it don't matter if it's good or not. I got to keep posting. They want you to be a slave to their system because it benefits their apparatus. But does it benefit you, though? Does it really mean that what you created was actually good? Most of the clips that we see that's viral, a lot of it is shitty. You know what I'm saying? So the consumers don't control the culture. We've known for the last 20 years that white people are funding hip hop. They are. They're the ones who buy the concert tickets. They are the ones who support the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like these artists wouldn't be next level if it was not for avid fans that were white. I get that. But don't ever get it confused. Just because you consume it doesn't mean you control it. You feel what I'm saying? And we have to remember that. We got to remember that. So I don't care how many streams that Drake has, right? Because if the majority of his fans are teenage white people that want to use the N-word, I can't look at him and be like, oh, well, this is where hip hop is. Because if we're not careful, we lose the culture the same way that we lost rock and roll, the same way that we lost jazz, the same way that we lost every art form that we've created. Because once they come in and they start making more money than us, then we just pass it on. But they don't control the culture. So it's like that to me is a part of what Kendrick represents, right? And that to me is what his Super Bowl show was. Is I know a lot of y'all gonna hate this. I don't care. His last album, GNX, I liked it when I first heard it, but I knew, oh, this is some LA shit. This is some, if you born in LA, you like this first, right? And so I had to. There was a couple of songs I love, and there's a couple of songs I was like, all right, this one gonna grow on me. But I love the fact that he didn't give a shit about creating an album that everybody was going to love. He gave you a regional hit that he knew his hood was going to love. And it was like, and I'm a force y'all to love it. And that's what hip hop used to be before everything turned into the internet, where we was just on some old, we all in the same, pot. It used to be where Chicago had a sound, Miami had a sound, LA had a sound, New York had a sound, but now everybody's trying to sound the same. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, y'all, if we're not careful, the culture dies because you're not creating from somewhere that's pure. You're not digging deep. You're allowing the consumers to control you. Oh, well, oh, y'all didn't like that. Or the algorithm didn't like that. Or maybe you like this song. And then the moment that they like that, okay, well, I'm gonna just keep making this. As opposed to figuring out what's the shit that you like. Give me something that's real from you, that's real from your soul. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like he's waving that flag right now. He is literally carrying the torch for every artist, for every creative, for anybody that is trying to do something that is going to go against the norm. And whether or not people want to accept that, you ain't have to like the Super Bowl halftime show. You need to support it though. You need to respect it. You need to respect that a kid from Compton stood on business and literally just set records. You know what I'm saying? My man just set a record. Dead ass, man. So yo, that's where we at. That's where we at. But brother, listen, man. Man, it's been a pleasure, bro. I when I saw you reach out and put the bat signal up, I wanted to see who all was going, be available for a discussion. And I saw your name. I got excited. I was like, okay. I just had a feeling. I was like, yo, I'm having a good conversation with this brother, man. So I really, really appreciate this, man. It's been good having an opportunity to build with you, man. And honestly, this is I'm gonna have you back, man. I can see the numbers, so I know people tapping in, and I can see the reactions, but it ain't even about the good engagement. I've personally been enjoying this discussion, man. It's been really good to reconnect with you. You know what I'm saying? Likewise. And just have an opportunity to share what feels like a personal conversation, online. You know what I'm saying?
We live this, man. This is our life. People look at hip hop as if it's entertainment. But I told someone the other day, I said, we were taken from who we are as a people. So when you talk about what is culture to us, it is hip hop music. Yeah. I always admired the Nigerian brothers and sisters that I went to school with because they had this pride. Like no matter where they were in school or what HBCU or PWI they went to or where I met them, they still knew they were Igbo or they knew what tribe they were from. If someone to tell me go back where you came from, I'm going back to the south side of Chicago. Like I'm not going back to Africa. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like as much culture as I have that defines my identity for me would be hip hop in the church. The black church and hip hop is all I got. And if you want to challenge either one of those, man, I got 2 tears and no bucket for you. I'm gonna fight to the death over both of those because they literally like craft the identity of who I am. And so I shudder to think that we let this be too monetized to the point where we don't acknowledge when a person has bared their soul the way we will realize that Mr. Duckworth has. Like I'm literally, if I had the authority, I'd give him an honorary doctorate degree. Right. Because his content will be studied in universities for, he already had the not the Mark Twain, but the Pulitzer, I believe.
Yeah, the Pulitzer. Yep.
He already has a Pulitzer. You know what I'm saying? Like Pac had to leave us to get some of the notoriety that he's getting. And a lot of other people had to transcend and leave the industry. He is at the top of his game.
Yeah.
And I told people this when they were like, well, why Lil Wayne ain't get I said, how many Grammys does Lil Wayne have?
And not only that, have you seen him lately?
We ain't gonna get into all that, because I have a real close personal relationship with Nola because I went to Xavier in New Orleans, so I'm not gonna touch Nola.
I got you. I'll back away.
I was real grateful you didn't bring that up. So I was like, let me not touch Nola, man. That's the second home for my wife and I. We met there.
I respect it.
But what I'm trying to say is that, context wise, Isaac, man, we've been able to have a dialogue, not just about an event, but we are literally talking about something that shaped us as men. That's why I always end up going back to that Q-tip line from Keep It Moving. Hip hop, a way of life. It doesn't tell you how to raise a child or treat a wife. It's a way of being that we learn from this culture, and that we will articulate, defend, battle, good, bad, hate, love. You know, that's why Diddy hurts so much.
Yeah.
You know, if it was a random dude that was making bread, making music, we'd just be like, man, another one bites the dust. But because we're so invested in this culture in this manner, you know, it is what it is. And so I have a lot of gratitude for spaces like this. And I'm grateful that you let me come on your platform. And
nah, man, it's been my pleasure, bro.
We literally said an hour, man. I don't know where we at now.
Man, we a little over 2. So listen, what I'm gonna do. I'm about to close out. Listen, I'm about to close out, but this is what I'm gonna ask of you. And I know this is weird. But I just got to do it now because I didn't do it earlier. Leave like even if you walk away, leave your phone connected for a moment because it's gonna keep feeding the video to the system, right?
Okay.
Because and the reason I'm telling you this is because I told you how YouTube was like, oh no, you're in violation when I went full screen. I'm going to re-upload this video. And I want to make certain that I'm getting the clear version of you because I've loved this conversation. And so I want to make certain that I have the best version of it. So you'll be able to see it. It'll let you know that it's uploading your recording.
Well, I'm on my MacBook right now.
Are you
so
okay? Okay,
you'll see it.
Okay, yeah, you'll see it. If you click on recording, it'll let you know what percentage it is. So I'm just saying, don't completely disconnect until it fully uploads because I'm reposting this to YouTube. I'm gonna just cut out that little part when I went full screen. And they was like, oh no. I don't like that. I don't like what it is that you're trying to do because we getting these views over here. I had to laugh. The moment I saw it, it went blank. I was like, they kick people off. Straight up, man. But George, brother, man, dog, it was a pleasure, man.
I can't wait to do it again, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, dog, it was, man. So, thank you, brother. And until the next time.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Peace.
So people, listen, as y'all see, I call myself the Warren Buffett of relationships. And I don't care how much I say that. I say that because I share the same birthday as Warren Buffett. And we also got some other astrological influences. But it's funny because from the moment that I started saying that, I really had to pay attention to how blessed I am and how wealthy I am in my circle, right? Like this brother right here, George, right? Like, I don't know how long you've been tapped into the conversation that we've been having, but just to give you some insight, George and I may not have had a interaction conversation since our 20-year high school reunion, which was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, right? We'll interact on Facebook, like through posts and stuff like that. And so we're aware of one another peripherally, but we spoke then, we've connected. But in terms of like us, like really being able to vibe out, we don't really get to do it real often. And for me to be able to have that kind of conversation with him is such a blessing. Right? Because one, that's letting me know I need to be more tapped in with him and I need to be closer because I always knew the brother was intelligent and that he was deep, but he and I have never really had an opportunity to have this kind of conversation at this age. And so this was a gift to me. And there was so much that he said that was valuable to me. And I'm not just saying that because he was on the show, but there was times I was like, oh shit, like I had to go full screen because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna turn that into a reel. Like that's gonna help somebody. Like that is like poignant, And so when I put the bat signal up and said anybody that wants to talk about this, and he answered it, I got excited because I knew we could have a conversation that was deeper than the surface. And I had some other people that were also interested, but wires got crossed. I'm glad that it played out the way it was. That was very beneficial. So I'm going to close now. And this was something that I was going to share with him, but honestly, I had so many questions for him, but that was one of those good conversations where it was just self-powering. So there was a lot that I wasn't able to get to, and I'm not going to force it now, but there is something that I do want to touch on because I do think it is important. And I do think that this gentleman said something that was poignant. So I'll kind of use this as the closing, right? So I told y'all that I've been investing in Threads lately. I not even intentionally, you know, I kind of peripherally was just kind of like tapping into Threads, but my Threads feed, for whatever reason, is hella woke. It is, and I love it. I love it. I'm seeing everything right now. They're not trying to outrage me. They are giving me exactly, without even me following anyone. Threads knows what I like, and I'm seeing the 92% and the 78%. And it's just making me feel good. Just seeing other Black and brown people who I guess share a similar spirit. But this was a white brother. Okay. So we're going to call this segment White and Woke. And this was what a white gentleman had to say about the Kendrick Lamar performance, right? And I've been seeing quite a few people that feel this way, but I was like, okay, this was one that I thought was rather poignant. So just bear with me. It's not going to be cinematic. I'm going to read it as I post it. And then, you know, I'll just give my insights briefly afterwards. But this gentleman said, halftime. I'm old. I'm white. My knowledge of hip hop ends around the time Bushwick Bill got shot in the face. So we know this dude is real. My understanding of Kendrick Lamar is minimal, but I do recognize important art when I see it, even if I don't always understand its every nuance. And yesterday, that was important. I can see where someone wanting to be simply entertained by bombast might be left wanting. There was no beer swiggling swagger. There was no bellicose chest thumping. It was difficult to understand some of the lyrics, but then can you make out every screech of Brian Johnson over Angus Young's Marshall stacks? Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge AC/DC fan and would love to shotgun a brew during halftime while they sing about drinking and screwing, but last night wasn't about that because it isn't time for that right now. It had been easy to go the Rage Against the Machine route and protest. Fuck you. I won't do what you tell me. Such in your face and on the nose obviousness causes visceral responses in both those you are singing for and those you are singing about. While I can appreciate the catharsis of such rawness and rage, last night was something far deeper. Like what Hendrix did at Woodstock with the Star Spangled Banner, Kendrick did last night at the Super Bowl. There were layers of meaning beneath the surface. I won't go into it here because I'm ill-equipped to do so, but there are several voices who do understand those multiple layers. If you want to learn to understand, search them out. There were no crude sexual hijinks on Kendrick's stage. There was little, if any, profanity. There was no boasting of intoxicants. There was simply a brilliant mind with an immensely creative way of expressing itself. From the moment Uncle Sam, Uncle Tom began narrating, I knew we were in for something very, very different. And seeing the multitude of visceral responses today, I could not have been more correct. Love it or hate it, you have to respect the man who created it. And see, that to me is what the fuck an ally looks like. You don't have to get it. You don't have to get it, right? How many times do we not understand something? How many times have you watched a Marvel movie and then after the fact you see some YouTube video that talks about all the things that you missed, all the little Easter eggs? Ooh, you love the things that you didn't get at the time, right? Most people know that the hook in the song is one of the most important things. I've always called it the hierarchy of a hit. It's the beat first, it's the hook second, because that's what catches you. And then the lyrics generally catch you later on down the lines. There have been times where I have damn near known all the words to a song, and I've never actually paid attention to what they were really saying. where you think about after the fact, you're like, oh snap, I never even paid attention to the fact that they were actually talking about so and so and so and so and so, right? You normally love that. We came from a space where we normally appreciated that. So this visceral response, this ambivalence, this, oh, it was the most boring, whatever. No, it wasn't. You were just resisting what you know was something significant, right? And that's okay. Just like my brother George just said, right? Like we all approached it differently, but it's something that we will watch again and again over history. The fact that he set a record and it is the most watched thing since the moon landing. And as George pointed out, possibly even more than that, because they really didn't have an accurate way of being able to measure how many people watched the moon landing. That kind of says something. So what I need y'all to do is to stop hating. I need y'all to stop hating for a moment and just respect that something impressive and something amazing just occurred. You have to acknowledge it, even if it doesn't fully resonate on a level, right? Everybody keeps wanting to downplay Kendrick like he's some broke guy. Do y'all know his net worth? This man is worth close to $150 million. So for those of y'all who think that like, oh, he rapping for broke people, Kendrick is richer than you and everyone you know. Stop fucking playing with this man. He is worth $150 million. His last tour was one of the top grossing tours of all time, not hip hop tours of all time, right? So you can play the numbers game with him and Drake, but you're acting like Drake is way up here and Kendrick is out here rapping for broke people. The man has a Pulitzer, right? Put some respect on his name, right? And I'm not here just trying to wave the flag, but I'm here saying we got to get to this space where we stop disrespecting people just because they don't 100% fit into our neat little box. The moment that you want to compare someone, you start to say, well, because I like this person, I got to hate this person. And I told y'all in the beginning, I actually like both artists. I hate the fact that anytime we talk about basketball and we talk about LeBron, we got to totally disrespect LeBron because you think Jordan is better. LeBron is trash. Y'all, come on. I get it. It's hyperbole, but if you say it enough times, you start to believe the shit. If you say a lie enough times, you will believe it. So if you say LeBron is trash enough times, you will ignore the fact that he has scored more points than anybody in NBA history. He's broken more records than anybody in NBA history. Now, personally, I do have Jordan a step above him, right? For other reasons. But when I share that, I share it with the ultimate respect of what LeBron has accomplished and who he is, not only on the court, but definitely off the court, right? Because he is an amazing human being. Why do we have to get to this point where because I support something, everything else that's not that thing is shitty, right? We get into this tribal space and it's just, I'm trying to think of the word. It's intellectually dishonest. And again, if you say it enough times, then all you're doing is deluding yourself from a reality that may be facing you right in the face, right? Like, we got to get better with this as a society because we are becoming so sensational that the things that we need, we're almost stiff-arming. The things, when someone wants to give you some insight on something because you're already sold that I love this guy, I love his content. He can do no wrong. Someone is trying to give you insight. Okay, listen, you can like his entertainment, but he's doing some things right now that's going to give you a lot of pain. That's going to hurt a lot of people that you love. It's going to change your way of life, and you are almost unwilling or unable to even see it. And unfortunately, you know, they say hindsight is 20/20, and pain is the best teacher. So we're going to see how this all plays out, right? When I'm telling you, this ain't even a political discussion. I'm just sharing this because I'm noticing that this is a bit of a trend that we're getting into. And just as human beings, man, as adults, it serves us no value, has no purpose for us to not acknowledge that something special occurred. It's okay if it wasn't your cup of tea, but for you to talk shit about the all-time top selling, top watched thing, it meant something to someone. And while it doesn't have to mean something to you, it may have value if you at least tap in and do a little research to figure out why it meant so much to other people, right? Feel free to not do that, but just know in not doing that, you're acknowledging that you're comfortable with being ignorant. And ignorance has its consequences. It really does. Ignorance has its consequences. But you guys, I appreciate you all, man. This has been a great show. It's probably been one of my favorites up to this point. I hope you all enjoyed it. You know, I'm going to do more things like this. You know, for those of you all that are watching it, if you ever want to engage with me in a discussion, you know, let me know at least once a month. I'm going to be pulling people in and just experimenting. You know, that's what that's what I was telling George earlier on. I said, listen, man, this is a plane that I'm building as it's taking off, right? Like, I don't even 100% know what it is, but I hope that every conversation moving forward can be as valuable as this one felt to me, right? And that's what the Tequila Tales is, and that's what the script is it's all about communication, is that we're in this space, man, where we feel like just because we're so connected, we can get into a space where we feel like we're connected. And what we start to learn is that we're actually not communicating. We're actually not listening to one another. We're actually not like talking anymore. We're talking at one another. We're not communicating. And so that's what this is, you know. And so I want to thank all of you all for, you know, tuning in. I want to, you said what? Oh, I missed your birthday. Oh, you know what? Listen, my wife is sitting right here. Yo, the most important person in my world, okay? Her birthday was last week, right? So what we are going to do is give a collective happy birthday to Casey Alana Austin, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I did a show last week on her birthday, right? And, you know, as soon as I ended it, I felt like trash because I was like, yo, I did not wish you a happy birthday. So I'm making up for almost missed it again, right? That's how you know I'm a good husband and I'm a trash husband. And also, for those of you all that are seeing this t-shirt that I have on, and you like, yo, I kind of like that t-shirt that you have on. How can I get it? You know what I'm saying? Man, let me go ahead and just put that in the chat real quick for y'all and anybody else that may, you know, want this. Like, no pressure, but I just want y'all to be able to, you know, cop it. And you know what? I'm creating a term. I want to call it like protest wear, because a lot of the things that we're pushing is subtle, right? I love wearing this stuff around people. I went to an event the other day, and you know, it was like a jazz function, and you know, it was a mixed crowd, but there was a lot of white people there too. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I'm just there mixing it up and shit. And I got this on, and in my mind, I'm like, it's subtle protest. It's quiet. Like, if you know, you know. It's one of those things. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, feel free to check it out. You know what I'm saying? Look, let me just show y'all this. Just and you all can tell me if y'all get this, right? Just so you can know what I'm talking about. Let me know. I'm gonna leave this up here for a second. I want y'all to look at this for a second and tell me if you know what this means. I'm not gonna explain it, because if you know, you know, right? If you know, you know. And sometimes, you know, you just want to say it with your chest. Sometimes you just want people to know, all right, I ain't got time for this foolishness. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, if you know what that means, then good. If you don't, I'm not gonna say it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the space that we're in, right? It's like subtle protest. It ain't in your face. It's like what Kendrick did, right? You know, some people got upset because they wanted him to be more bold. I guess they wanted him to be like, F the president. It's like, nah, you ain't got to do that. You ain't got to do that. Sometimes that overt stuff can be a little over the top, man. And it can, it can cause more issues, right? You know, when you think about us back in the day, man, like back when we were really under duress, we had to know how to communicate with one another. And sometimes you got to know how to communicate in code. You know what I mean? You can't always broadcast it. You know, you can even put it out there. You can amplify it, but you can't give people the answer key. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's literally, if you know, and it's one of those things where we look at one another. Y'all know that thing we do in our culture where we in a environment and we look at one another across the room and something crazy happening and you lock eyes with that person across the room and y'all getting you like, you know what I'm saying? Like we all been there. We've all been there where we just that quiet acknowledgement of one another when we are in sync, you know. And so that's what this is. But y'all, I love you. I appreciate, your engagement in the whole nine. And like I said, man, any suggestions, any special guests, if you ever want to be featured, let me know. And, we'll make it happen. But until the next time.